Hey, I'm BJ and I do a lot of different things. I'm currently in the process of starting this YouTube channel to talk a little bit about the Ozarks. It's where I was born and raised. I miss it, I'm homesick for it. If you hear some weird sounds in the background, it's just the cat and the dog that are currently having a fight. Not really a serious fight, just they're playing. But I really wanted to talk a little bit about the Ozarks where I grew up. I now live in Nebraska and it's currently a blizzard, so yay, snow. More snow, joy. But I wanted to get into this. The first book I'm going to read, this went out of the public domain a couple of years ago. It's now in the public domain. And I'm saying that now. It's called The Strange Customs of the Ozark Hillbilly by G.H. Pipes. And I got a signed copy, which I'm really proud of. And hopefully my cat and my dog don't knock over my tripod because they know I'm trying to do something. So, copyright 1947, G.H. Pipes. The foreword, as stated, having lived most of my life in the Ozarks, I have noticed that the outsider's first questions upon visiting the country are, where are the hillbillies, and are they really hillbillies? Here. Because few outsiders ever get a chance to observe and study the inside life of the true hillsman. I have attempted in this booklet to carry the reader into this strange world. Though I have crammed this with authentic folklore, Ozark tall tales, and factual hill customs, I have used fictitious or fictional presentation and fictitious characters. After all, some hillbillies are very sensitive and ornery as copperheads, and I certainly have no desire to be shot with a big bored squirrel rifle or to be cut to the hollow with a razor edge Barlow knife. G.H. Pipes, Springs, Missouri, January 8th, 1947. So I figure I'll probably read like a couple of chapters, give a little bit of a commentary, and then we'll go on to the next. And there's about 13 chapters, so it's going to be a little bit over time. So here's the contents in case you're wondering. And you can do my math on if that's 13 or not. In the forward. Chapter 1. Where are the hillbillies? The hillbilly is a hoax, Jewel Parkman snapped as he paced back and forth on the boat dock overlooking Lake Taneycomo. His young brown eyes dare me to contradict his statement. He added with emphasis, I not only say he is a fake, but I'll give you $50 if you show me a real one. You introduced him to my dad. You're crazy, I answered heatedly. I'll not only show you one hillbilly, but a whole family that will make your eyes stick out till they can be snared with a grapevine. Jill threw back his head and laughed scornfully. Ha ha ha. You fellows, all who live here are all alike, always talking up this mountain freak you call a hillbilly. But when it comes to producing one, the only thing I've seen is a destitute farmer in overalls. I'm arguing that there is no such thing as a hillbilly you read about in the books and see in the movies. I've looked for this man freak from Springfield, Missouri to Harrison, Arkansas, and all the way back. But I've seen nothing but ordinary tomato farmers and cotton growers, or just plain down in the dumps dirt farmers. They'd all been to California and back. Half of them had high school education, and all of them were just plain humans wanting to be rich, or working and dreaming of the days when they'll be having a filling station on Highway 65. Hell, those aren't hillbillies, so that's why I contend that there isn't such a thing except in the imagination of a two-bit advertising man who flaunts them before tourists to get them into the Ozarks for vacations. I studied Jewel for a moment. He was young, just out of the journalism in university. He wanted to be a novelist. He'd come to the Ozarks in search of hillbilly material for a novel. He was plainly disgusted with what he had found. Jewel, like other outsiders, expected to see a lean, bewhiskered, barefooted man clad in ragged clothing, walking the road and streets, toting a squirrel rifle in one hand and a jug of corn drippings in the other. He didn't know that the real hillbilly is a secretive, clannish sort of person who is seldom seen in town more than 3 or 4 times a year. The old-time hillsmen hate foreigners worse than he does a copperhead snake and wants no truck with it. Tourists seldom see one because he will not go around where they are. An outsider never has a chance to see the inside of a hillbilly's life. He stays in his cabin far out in the hills and doesn't come out except for the direst necessity. I told Jewel this and added, the old-time hillbilly is like the deer and the buffalo. Civilization has all but killed him out. There are a few left, but they'll not be here many years. Huh, that's your story. Sorry. Huh, Jewel snorted, that's your story. I found it hard to control my anger while arguing with a hardhead like this. I wanted to say, okay, there's no such thing as a real hillbilly, so what? But I didn't, for I knew that what Jewel will do. He read up a batch of stuff saying how there was no such thing in the Ozarks, and well, I couldn't let him do that when it would take an hour or so to run out to the Abe Cooch's place. Come on, I said sharply, get that $50 ready, for I'm stopping this senseless argument for all times. If you don't agree that Abe Cooch and his family are hillbillies, I'll give you $50. Let's go, Jewel laughed, and that's what I'm down here for. Chapter 2. Wild Country. Long after we had left the highway and we were up Rourke Creek, where the oaks and sycamores hung close to the old road, Jewel said, it looks like the end of the road up there. It is, I nodded. We'll leave the car there and walk up Paw Paw Hollow and then 2 more miles. Does it look like the sort of country you'd figure a hillbilly would live in? It's plenty wild, he said, as I pulled the car under an elm tree where it would be sheltered from the angry July sun. We got out and I opened the back door. Jewel said, I still don't see why you're taking that worthless, pot-licking hound. I dragged the bony black and tan dog out of the car, careful to get a good grip on the rope tied to the leather collar. You'll see why I need him when we get to Abe Cooch's place. This dog cost you $5, but it's the only way I know to really make friends with Abe. Oh, he knows me all right. I've known him all my life. Brought liquor from him plenty of time, but when he sees you, he'll climb up like a spring storm. Hillbillies don't like outsiders. If he's suspicious of you, you'll never see a thing. He won't even talk to you. What are you going to do, stick the dog on him? He asked jokingly. Nah, I laughed. I'm going to tell him this dog is yours and you want to swap him off. If there's anything a hillbilly love, it's a hound dog and a swap. Abe will be friendly, and if he's friendly, he'll tell you things you'd like to know. You'll get a chance to look around and see just how a hillbilly lives, what he eats, how he talks, what his woman looks like, how his kids act, how they sleep, and what they think about things, and, well, everything about them. By the way, Jewel, how old are you? Past 23, he answered. I locked the car up and we started up a dim trail. I said, well, I want to warn you, Cooch has a 16-year-old daughter that isn't married. If we stay there any length of time, you better watch out. Some of these hill gals turn into regular wampus cats when they see a good-looking city fella. Wampus cat. Jill glanced around to see if I was joking. I didn't crack a smile and eyed him with the deepest concern. You think I'm kidding, don't you? Don't worry about me and this Cooch dame decked out in a flower cloth sack gown. I can handle women, even if they do come with claws and a wampus cat's deposition. Say, what the hell is a wampus cat? I answered seriously. Rightly, I don't know. It's a bloodthirstiest animal of some kind that's found only in the wildest section of the Ozarks. And brother, I'm telling you this Rourke country is absolutely the wildest anywhere in the hills. If you don't believe me, ask anyone in Branson or Reed Springs or anyone who's ever heard of it. I'll tell you that Rourke isn't much different than it was when the first settlers came here from Tennessee in 1826. And don't think she wasn't wild then. We walked along, the dog trailing behind me. We threaded our way through a willow thicket, and then the trail turned up a wooded hollow. This is the mouth of Paw Paw Hollow, I said. It heads up a mile up to the mountains near Dead Man's Cave. Abe Cooch lives near there, not far from a big spring. The trail climbed up over the glades and under overhanging tree limbs. It was worn smooth but very narrow. You mean to say people live up this trail without any other road going out? Jules asked, looking puzzled. Hill folks don't need any other way to get out, I told him. Abe's got a mule. Give a hillbilly a mule and he wouldn't swap it for a new car. He can pack in all the stuff at one trip he'll use from the stores in a year's time. Wait till you'll see how independent a hillbilly lives. You'll begin to think he doesn't even need a mule. The still dead air in the forest was hot. We were both sweating profusely by the time we climbed the spot where I cautioned Jewel to be quiet and take the dog's leash. I vanished about a dozen yards, peering through from behind a sassafras thicket. Then I motioned for Jewel to come on and look. He edged up, and I could hear from his heavy breathing that the smell from sweat from his body. There's where they live, I whispered. Across a narrow clearing was an age-old log cabin, the roof sagging, an open door yawning into a roofless porch. I could hear voices but couldn't see anyone. Come on, I whispered. Let's walk across the clearing fast like we've really come for business. I started towards the front door. I could hear the dog panting and Jewel stopping along behind me. Little wheezing noises came to my ears, and I wondered if they were being made by Jewel or the dog. Suddenly we froze in our tracks. The loud wail of a single voice came from the cabins, and then the noise that sounded like screams of a dozen persons. Then a man jumped out the door, and I heard Jewel cry, "My God, he's got a gun!" I recognized Abe Cooch. He jerked the rifle to his shoulder, and the explosion rocked the forest like a charge of dynamite. I'll admit, I was scared so bad I couldn't run, and a queer little sound kept bubbling out of my dry throat. Jewel yelled in terror. Then Abe Cooch saw us and stepped off the porch, his black whiskers waving in the gentle breeze, his eyes black as a crow's wing settling on us. The rifle snapped down against his side. He looked startled for a moment, and then his brass voice rang out. "What are you varmints doing in the neck of the woods?" Jewel plunged past me, and I saw his arms stretched high above his head. He cried, "Don't shoot no more, Mr. Cooch. I only came up here to trade you this dog." Abe Cooch stared at us, and he recognized me. He said, "Hello, Pipes." He eyed Jewel suspiciously, then laughed. "Don't shoot no more," he roared. "Well, I wasn't shooting at y'all. Grandma just died a minute ago, and I was shooting so my old woman would know it. She's back up yonder to the spring doing washing. I told her when she left the house that I'd fire the gun off and Grandma died, or if I wanted her right quick. Hey, grab that rope before the dog runs off and come on up. As soon as we get Grandma laid out, the old woman will stir you up a dirty bite. By God, that right looking dog you got there. You say you want to swap him." And that ends the chapter 2. Before we go to chapter 3, I want to talk a little bit about the description of the hillbilly, just there he's talking about when he came out of the cabin. It reminds me of those old-time cartoons about the hillbillies that used to be like on Looney Tunes and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how true this is to varying degrees. They kind of use the Hollywood version for a lot of it. I know most people wouldn't just shoot first and tell them after the fact that, we were just shooting for Grandma because she died and we're laying her out and we need to get Mom down here quick to listen to it. But there's a few things that are kind of cool in here. The dialogue is very much what I grew up with as a kid. I've kind of lost my Ozark accent because, I didn't like getting called Ellie Mae in college all that much, so there's that. Talking about the July heat, though, is very relevant. I'm kind of looking forward to continuing this little booklet. The next one I'm going to do is going to be a Royal Roseman book bound by this Clay, which is also a little bit about Ozark humor. I'm also going to do my grandma's books too, because this what kind of started this whole thing was my redoing my grandma's books that she wrote about the Ozarks. I think that's a pretty good start. I hear the baby crying, so I need to go take care of her. And thank you for listening. Sorry, this is my first time reading on camera, and I clearly don't like it. You can obviously tell. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be good for me, too. So, see you next time.